Okay, fair question. It's a fair question that nobody has asked, so I'll answer it. These episodes on plagiarism that I've just made are technical, and they have me asking myself, so what? If you're a plagiarist in your own head, and in your own head, where you're your only audience, you're not giving credit where credit is due. For ideas you're having, you're thinking to yourself that you're having these ideas when actually you got them from somewhere else. So what? And why bother even making an episode about that when it doesn't matter? And to that I would say, absolutely correct. Absolutely pointless. Those last 3 episodes, makes no difference. But does an idea have to be useful? Does it have to serve a purpose? I could have an idea, that could serve a negative purpose, and one that I don't want out there in the universe. But it still may be sitting there as an idea. Should I not think about it? Well, of course I should think about it. Well, I can't stop, really, can I? Some of the most evil thoughts you can have. You can almost not stop yourself having them. Did Hitler have a point? For example, you should never discuss that in the open. But when I just said that, did Hitler have a point? One part of you might say, well, that's just an outrageous question to ask, but are you turning that over in your mind now anyway? And I could propose a lot of other bad thoughts too. Oh, here's another one. Racism. Is it a good thing? On some levels. Now, you might knee-jerk, oh, absolutely not. Terrible thing. But, you're turning that over in your mind right now. Can you help yourself? You've got to turn these things. You can't help yourself. You turn these things over in your mind anyway. It's more about, I'm talking about the stuff that goes on in your own head. You can debate. You have to. You haven't got a choice. Really. You have to debate things in your own head in order to throw the bad ideas away. But before you throw the bad ideas away, you have to turn them over in your head to just check that they're bad ideas. You don't want to go and just believe everybody, do you? If someone says, racism is a bad thing, racism stops with me, and you go, all right. Do you do that? If you do, you're an idiot. You've got to turn it over in your head. So in order to agree with someone, if someone says to you, racism is a bad thing, and racism stops with me, and you shouldn't do it either. Do you go, yep, agree? Or do you go, all right, just let me think about this for a second. Racism, effects of that, boom, boom, boom. Yep, I agree. Now, if you actually even thought it through, well, what's happening there is you're having a debate inside your head that is evil. You're having an evil debate. If this is, my Catholic upbringing is coming through here, but if a debate is evil in public, to even have the debate, is it not evil to have that debate in your head? I don't know. I haven't thought this through. In fact, I was going to talk about something else when I started this episode, but I've ended up talking about this because I find it more interesting than what I was about to talk about. Okay, so we recently had not too long ago, a debate on whatever it is, marriage of people of the same gender. Okay, same-sex marriage, SSM. Yes. Okay. Now, in the public domain, it was said, you know, and I may well agree with this, this is not something that should even be debated, just put it in. Okay. But in your head, you know, when that was first proposed to you as an idea, did you go, yep, agree? Or did you do something evil inside your own head, like debate it within your own head? You know, did you go, same-sex marriage, issues, boom, 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 can't think of many. Yeah, it seems pretty obvious, but, you know, you know, and you may have come up, yeah, look what you should have done, and I could talk, but I'm in the public domain here, see, so I'm not going to have the debate in the public domain, but in my own head, you know, I did turn over all the issues, pros and cons, as it doesn't matter whether you should or you shouldn't. Yeah, I kind of can't help it. You know, you debate things in your own head that you tend to say that you can't debate in public, but you've committed a sin anyway by having the debate in your own head. And if you're having the debate in your own head, yeah, look, put it this way. If you think that that debate could be had better in your own head if you actually discussed it with someone else and got the benefit of their ideas, you know, should you just sneak away somewhere, in a shed somewhere, and debate same-sex marriage with that one other person? And if anyone found, you know, if anyone put a listening bug in there, you know, would you two lose your jobs? Yeah. I didn't intend speaking about this, but I think it becomes an interesting, it's ended up an interesting episode to me, at least. Is it wrong to debate things in your own head? You know, or on things like racism, you know, and whatever else you can think of, you know, LGBTQIA rights and all that sort of stuff, and same-sex marriage. If someone proposes something that just sounds good, do you go, yep, bang? Or do you debate it first? Or, you know, have you in the past debated all the pros and cons in your own head? Or have you gone knee-jerk and just went bang? Agree, you know, just made the call off the cuff. I contend that even if you think you've made the call off the cuff, you've probably thought about it deeply over the times in the quiet of your own bed, late at night when no one's listening. You know, you're having evil debates in your own head about such things, you know, about such things as, you know, have you ever had the debate, for example, about whether Indigenous Australians are quite human, you know, compared to Africans, for example? And have you ever had the debate in your own head whether Europeans like me are quite human compared to Africans in general, you know, generalising, you know, and, you know, I had that evil debate in my head. And you know what I came up with? I came up with the answer, no. We Europeans are not quite as human as Homo sapiens, as Africans. Yeah, because we're a bit Neanderthal. It depends how you define human, of course. Yeah, and same goes for the indigenous people. They're about, you know, they're just a bit off human, in the same way that we Europeans are a bit off human, and the only master race purebreds are, you know, what you might call black Africans. You know, I have the, now, on that question just now, in the public domain, if you asked that question, well, you shouldn't be able to ask that question in the public domain, but you kind of have to, you know, I kind of had to have that debate in my own head. I have to be evil in my own head in order to even consider the implications of the fact that I'm part Neanderthal, you know, or the Aborigines or whatever, are part Denisovan or Denisovian or whatever they are, you know. What's the impact of that? Now, we Europeans, you know, we can get around that and we'll say, oh, well, the Neanderthals were what made us even better. You know, so But it's not a bad thought to be debating in your own head, but you can't debate it in public discourse. You can have more powerful debates in your own head than you can in public, because in public you have to have manners. But if you want to be a good thinker, you have to have the power to have evil debates in your own head, is what I think. Now, what did I start this episode with? It was, the pedantic, technical issues of being a plagiarist in your own head, which is what I wasted the previous 3 episodes on. But even there, it seemed like a waste of time, accusing myself of being a plagiarist in my own head. It seemed like, what's the point of this? And on one level I say, it doesn't have to be a point. Many scientists have done experiments where they can't see any possible, obvious benefit for humanity in those experiments. For example, all the physicists thinking about black holes, for example. What benefit can that happen? Can that have, for the world? People might say, just stop wasting time and, go on a Black Lives Matter protest instead of investigating black holes, You're doing no good in the world, In fact, it's nigh on selfish for you to spend 16 years studying black holes, whereas I'm out there marching for Black Lives Matter and making a difference, and you're making no difference, But then, I sort of think, no, it's good to have these pointless debates in your own head, because, the study of black holes, for example, allowed an Australian scientist, if you like, to invent Wi-Fi. And you sort of think, oops, all right. So sometimes, you have a thought that appears to have no benefit for anybody, and it ends up having a benefit. And, you get some Aussie invents Wi-Fi, which benefits all of humanity, Of course, he's unheralded. To be heralded, you've got to shake your bum, like Beyonce, and put out a hit record, and be a true inspiration, But if you want to be truly useful, be that Aussie guy that invented Wi-Fi or something, that sort of thing, Anyway, I don't even know his name myself. How about that? How's that for humble? He's fantastic, whatever his name is. And he's made us billions too. He makes us billions every year, that guy, because we're pulling in the royalties on that one. Wi-Fi, that's a good thing. Black holes, that's a good thing too. Now, so this gets me thinking. All right, so I just had a couple of just now had 3 pointless episodes on the issues involved in being a plagiarist in your own head. Telling yourself you've come up with good ideas when you got them from someone else. What point? Just let me. I should just let myself, take credit for that. But then I think to myself, nah. Yeah, all right, I can actually see some usefulness in having that thought, because it allows me to be less chauvinist, let's say. So there is a benefit in that. It makes me a nicer person to realise that nigh on all the ideas I have are down to other people, geniuses before me. It makes you humble, twigging that you're standing on the shoulders of giants that have gone before you, and it makes you hesitant to judge those people as being not as good as you, because they didn't hold values as good as the values that you hold in this era. So look, the example I gave is European Enlightenment thinkers, most of whom were a pack of bastards against 21st century standards, but arguably they were better people than I am, even though I hold better values, apparently, in my own time, judging, me judging this from my chauvinistic position in my time. 100 years from now, anybody who eats an animal, for example, may be judged more harshly than the colonialists during the scramble of Africa are judged by 21st century progressives, for example. If people may look back on this era and say anyone who ate an animal, or we may have poverty solved by then in 100 years. I doubt it, but imagine we did. And 100 years from now, people will say, all you people who remained well fed, and don't give me any excuses. Don't give me any excuses. There are no excuses. But if a child needlessly died of starvation on your watch, how dare you pass judgment on the racist colonialists before your time? When you just sat there and you knew that kid was dying, and you just watched, and you were sitting. You had technology, and you were sitting al fresco at your favourite coffee shop, and you watched as you sipped your coffee. All these things are problematic. Or we may eating lovely little lambs maybe on the nose by 2222, and people will look back at us and say, you actually allowed someone to carve up a live lamb and you ate it. Don't you know that's cannibalism? Because the values might have changed by then, These are the sorts of things. It helps you to not be chauvinist. If you make an episode like I made, which was the previous one, plagiarism part 3. All right. So this one now becomes plagiarism part 4, plus more.